Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 3 of the Science of Getting Rich. This chapter is called Opportunity. Is Opportunity Monopolized? And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Like I said in the very beginning when I started these, I don't have just the notes that I've written on the side that I've studied things out. So I'm just kind of ad-libbing. I'm not editing. I'm not doing any of those things. And I'm just sharing from my heart what these things mean to me and how they've worked in my life, and I'll share it with you. But there's a real good author and teacher. He's passed away now. His name was Derek Prince. And Derek Prince was the Cambridge University professor of logic. And he had a thing that he would, whenever he taught a lesson like this, he would go back through the premises of the previous chapters, of the premises that he came up with in the first thing. So, he called recapitulation. So I'm going to kind of do that just a little bit. The first chapter was your right to be rich. We all have a right, an inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we have a right to be rich. We have a right to all that we can be. That's our rights as a human on this earth that God created for us. The next chapter, Chapter 2, was there is a science of getting rich. And in this, they talk about math. There is actually a science to getting rich. And so we talked about that. Chapter 3 is what we're going to start right now. And it's opportunity monopolized? And the way that I like to do this is I just read and go through it, and we'll talk about it a little bit. If you guys have noticed, I go through glasses like crazy. So these glasses are actually, I broke them and glued them together. So they looked a little funny. It is what it is. I buy them at the Dollar Tree, and I buy 10 pair of reading glasses at a time. I'm supposed to wear regular glasses, and some of you have seen me with my glasses on, but I just don't like the bifocals because I feel like I'm going to step through the floor and they mess me up. I would just rather not wear glasses at all and just use, cheap cheaters. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get started here. It says, no man is kept poor because opportunity has been taken away from him, because other people have monopolized the wealth and have put a fence around it. You may be shut off from engaging in business in certain lines, but there are other channels open to you. There's 1,000 ways to make money. There's just so many ways to make money that I can't even fathom it. It's just a matter of finding your niche. Our niche happens to be right now with CBD oil, but it's just a matter of finding what that area is for you. And I have a cousin who's a very wealthy man, and his grandfather invented a grain spreader. And that same grandfather actually helped Orville Redenbacher come up with the hybrid popcorn seed. The guy's still receiving residuals on that. He's still receiving residuals on popcorn. But it's just a matter of finding your niche. And finding what that is for you, what it is that you do better than anybody else. Maybe it's teaching, maybe it's educating, maybe it's recruiting, whatever it is. But there's a niche out there for everybody. And right now we're just working in the Zogena business. At different periods of time, the tide of opportunity sets in different directions according to the needs of the whole and the particular stage of social evolution which has been reached. What they're saying is that what they're saying here is that we're in business right now. 20 years ago, CBD wasn't even thought of. But right now it is. And it is part of this natural progression of business. And the more people discover more things, guess what? That's another opportunity for business. They They just had a thing where Windows 7 is obsolete and Windows 10, they're forcing everybody to get the Windows 10 now. And so guess what? People have found out ways to sell in Windows 10 to people cheaper than you might buy it from Windows themselves, or to get copies of it. There's all kinds of ways to make money. They're just out there. It's a matter of finding which one works for you and finding that niche. Ours right now, for me, I have a credit card processing business. I work as an engineer, and we're in Zogena. It says there is an abundance of opportunity for men who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. Look what all of the things that Zogena has and the products that we're coming out with, and we're going with the tide. These are products that people are wanting. People are wanting the energy and recovery drink. People are wanting the CBD gummies, but now we have CBD gummies with vitamins in them. People are wanting those things. So we're going with the tide to create wealth for ourselves. It says the individual worker, however, is not held down by ignorance or mental slothfulness of this class. He can follow the tide of opportunity to riches, and this book will tell him how. This book has been, in the very first lesson that I taught, I talk about it because when I was studying Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale, Earl Schoaf, Jim Rohn, all these famous teachers on wealth. Tony Robbins from Jim Rohn from Earl Schoaf, and Earl Schoaf was from a guy, I can't think of his name, but he did the success system that never fails. But all of those people, when I got all the way back to the 20s, they were all, I kept hearing these teachers quoting these same sentences. And I'm like, where in the heck? These guys are all reading the same thing somewhere. And it wasn't, everybody's like, oh, it's all in Think and Grow Rich. It wasn't Think and Grow Rich. It was this book. So when I found that, I'm like, awesome. So when I started reading it, I saw the difference that it started making in my life right away when I started applying the principles. And these principles are there for us to use, and we have a right to them. So this chapter, it touches a little bit on the science, and I'm going to kind of blow through it because I really want to teach more when we get to the more scientific stuff in the next chapter. But it says, everything you see on earth is made from one original substance, out of which all things proceed. And we could get down to the subatomic particle and the photons, and everything is made up of atoms. And the vast part of everything is actually nothing. If you take the distance from the nucleus of the atom to where the electrons are spinning around the atom, and if you wanted to say that nucleus was the side of a basketball, the volume from the center of that atom to the wall to where the electrons are moving is 300 miles. So the vast part of everything that we see, taste, touch, feel is nothing. It's mostly nothing. We are actually nothing. It's very crazy, but that's just the truth. And everything is made up of these atoms and electrons. No man is therefore poor because nature is poor, or because there is not enough to go around. There is supply for everything. There is a supply for whatever you want to do. If you look at, there's a quote that we're going to be quoting up here in the future, and it says, there's an original substance which permeates and penetrates and fills the interspaces of the universe. These atoms that we're totally surrounded by, or electrons that we're surrounded by, are all around us. They're all around us. They're in the air. We can't move. In fact, experiments show that when you do something very simple, all the way on the other side of the planet, the electrons know exactly what you've done. And there's several experiments to go with this, blind experiments and things like that. But what they discovered was very interesting is that when they started working with these things, they found out that when thought entered into the subject of the experiment, that the electrons reacted differently. So thought has an effect on electrons, which are surrounded by us. Very interesting. It says the formless stuff is an intelligent stuff. It thinks, it is alive, and always impelled towards more growth. And these are all experiments that have happened. Everything, all these electrons and things that we're surrounded by, they're wanting to be made into something. They're wanting that. If you want to think about it this way, everything that ever existed, I use these crayons for highlighters because I like crayons because they don't, when I highlight the backside of the page, I don't see it. But somebody invented this. Somebody invented it. And at first it was a thought. If I look at my car keys here, somebody thought of that car key. Somebody thought of a keychain. Somebody thought of my headphones. Somebody thought of those things first. Before anything was created, it was thought of. Before anything came into being, it was thought of first. And we're going to get into that in the next chapter. But everything was thought of first. And then it had taken form and was brought into existence. So a guy the guy thought of a cup, right? He thought of a cup and he said, okay. He thought about how they were going to cover it in wax. He thought about all that stuff. The next thing he did is he found a paper company. He worked what kind of paper is the best. But he used the natural things of this world, of this universe that we're in. He used the natural things of it to create something. But the thing that he created, he first created in his mind. And we create the same way. We first think of something, and then we act on it. And the universe works in this way. And I'm going to talk a lot about that in the future. But what happens is let's say you want to, I want to recruit 5 people. And you think to yourself, okay, you're thinking, how can I recruit 5 people? How can I recruit 5 people? And you have ideas that flash into your head. There's a very famous lady, and well, she was famous back in the day. Her name is Florence Scovel Shinn. And Florence Shinn wrote a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. An amazing, amazing book. Everybody should read that book. It's Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It. It was written in the 1920s, and she said something. She said, never violate a hunch. Never violate a hunch. Once you've decided that you're going to do something and you have a hunch about a way to do it, then go do that. And what happens is that because you've acted in faith, you've thought it, so you're sending a signal out to the universe saying that, okay, I want this. And then when you act in faith saying, okay, I got this idea to do this, you go do that. Guess what? The universe begins to bring that thing towards you. It reacts to you. It helps you bring the right people into your path. It helps you bring that thing. Have you ever been driving, or it happened to me today. I was on my way to work. I was thinking about a particular song that reminded me of a old coach that I had. And when I got to work, I was going to go work out, so I changed clothes. I started working out. I put on Pandora, and guess what? That song came on the radio. Now, I know that that's happened to everybody here at some time. I'm thinking of a song, and that song comes up. Or I'm thinking of this person, and all of a sudden I run into this person. Or I'm thinking of some subject, and all of a sudden it's brought to me. That is the universe working. That's the way we were designed to operate in this universe. It's a program. The universe is a great program. It's not God, it's a program. God created the program. There's a way that I like to put it, and a lot of people ask me, how do I explain it? And this is it, because I'm a believer in God, and I could go on the science of that and really break that down and talk about that. But that's a different subject for a different day. But I like to say this, and I've said this, and I've quoted it to the Z Team. It says, we are creators, but we are not the creator. The creator has given us an environment to create and the ability to do so. Think about that for a minute. So I'm going to move on a little bit here. It says the universe is a great living presence, always moving inherently towards more life and fuller functioning. The universe wants you to grow. The universe wants you to expand. It is natural for you to want to become more than what you are now, or better yourself. It is a natural thing. If you've joined Zogena, or you've joined Digital World, or whatever business, whatever it is that you've decided to do to grow, right? That is natural. In fact, I think I talked about it earlier. It's not normal for you to not want to grow. It's not normal. Everybody should be unsatisfied. In fact, Bob Proctor, he does a great teaching on this, and he talks about dissatisfaction is actually a state of growth. To be completely satisfied and just ho-hum through life is not natural. You should be dissatisfied. You should have a little bit of ambition. You should want something better for yourself and your family. You should want something better. Bob Proctor does a great teaching on that. And if you think about it, I mean, how did we get the wheel? Somebody was dissatisfied with sleds, I guess. But somebody invented the wheel. Somebody did that. And we could go on and on and on and on and on. Every invention. I mean, the water heater. Somebody was like, I'm tired of taking cold showers. They created a water heater. It's just one of those things. So dissatisfaction is not bad. It's a state of growth. It's a natural state. And that's where all of us should be at. All of us should be somewhat dissatisfied from where we're at. I have a great job, and I have some businesses that are prospering and coming along really good, but I'm not satisfied. I could be content, but I'm not satisfied. Dissatisfaction is a state of growth. So anyway, I'm going to read this last bit, and then I'm going to finish up. Nature is formed for the advancement of life. Its impelling motive is the increase of life. For this cause, everything which can possibly minister to life is bountifully provided for. There can be no lack unless God is to contradict himself and nullify his own works. So we are abundantly provided for. The worm, a bird is going to search daily and eat worms until he's full, until he's satisfied. The next day he's going to do the same thing. But if he looks, they're always provided for. It's always provided for. But we have to go out there and look. We have to go out there and work. That's where a lot of people miss it. They don't put forth the effort to do anything. And when they get smacked down once, they don't get back up and do it again. And I'm going to tell you I can't tell you how many businesses that I've had, and I've had some of them that have done really well, and I've had some that have just crashed and burned. And the ones that have done real well, I mean, I could talk about, where we made lots of money for a short period of time. And, a few times, one time I got shut down by the IRS. One time I got shut down by the FCC. So, and one time I got, the EPA actually shut me down when I was doing hydrogen fuel cells. But that's okay. We get back on the horse and we do it again. And the more times we do that, the more things that are brought to us. So we are not kept poor by the lack of supply. There's plenty of supply, and there's plenty of opportunity for all of us. We just have to find out what that niche is. And for right now, our niche is Zogena. And I like to tell people that if you'll apply these principles, it doesn't matter what the business that you're in. If you'll apply these principles, they work every single time. Just like 2 + 2 = 4, and gravity doesn't know the difference between a feather and a rock. It works. So you guys have a great night. God bless you. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to call. And if you need some help, don't ever hesitate to call Sully or I. We're here to serve you and help you. And we want everybody be successful and prosperous. All right. Have a great night, guys.